Good morning. Welcome to Bits and Banter. Once again, we are back with you to discuss IPL. As we all know, yesterday we had a first game for CSK and DC, and CSK actually shrugged off a lot of its ennui from last time and scored 188 in 20 overs. DC managed to score 190 in 18.44 overs. So, in terms of results, nothing changed. But Bala, there is a lot of change that has happened, right?
Exactly, Raj. I mean, you summed it up because you summed it up and you set it up pretty nicely. Because a lot of things have changed. Because after being around, say, 7 for 2, which was expected territory for Chennai Super Kings, from there to have scored 188 is a huge change for CSK from the previous season. Yeah. See, we didn't, I mean, when I say we, CSK didn't have any great start right at the start. But what happened in the previous season was the bad starts were compounded by very bad play in the middle overs and lack of firepower at the end. But those two things were evident in this particular innings. 188. I thought at the halfway mark, I thought 188 was a decent score. I mean, obviously it didn't turn out to be, because it turned out to be a pretty walk in the park for Delhi Capitals. But I didn't have much to complain with the CSK. This is one of those matches because the opposing batsmen were terrific. Both Dhawan and Prithvi were terrific. Hats off to them. I mean, you take because I wouldn't change much with the approach or within the team, except perhaps, I mean, because I don't see it with this batting line. I mean, we'll come to that later, but in general, I wouldn't tinker much.
So, I mean, I just want to sort of pick your brains on what Dhoni said after the match. He was talking about with the batting, he was very happy, but bowling, we could have done better. And so, I mean, do you agree with that, or do you say, you know what, it's not your day? I mean, Shardul Thakur, for example, has been the toast of an entire country. And suddenly he was, he gave away 50 runs, I think, in 4 overs or thereabouts.
Yeah. See,
so was Dhoni, I mean, was Dhoni's right in saying that, or was it just that? I mean,
it's a typical thing, man. I mean, you scored pretty decent amount of runs. Just that your bowling didn't work on the particular. Say, as a captain, you have to throw a few banalities and cliches. So one of those things, you can't read too much into it. Of course, bowling was found wanting, because when you're one of your main bowlers, when whom you expect to do well in the entire tournament, goes for around 50 runs in 4 overs, there is some amount of concern. The first match, you can cut them slack, but only one thing I was slightly, I mean, if at all I need to be unhappy about, is the way they went about with the bowling approach. It was too regimented, because it wasn't too different from what we saw in the IPL 2020. Because you had Deepak Chahar bowling 3 overs right at the start with other two bowlers, either Shardul Thakur or Sam Curran bookending the other two ends. That kind of a regiment, Deepak Chahar coming back slightly, that kind of a thing happened yet again. So in terms of bowling approach, was slightly regimented.
Yeah, let me ask you something. So is Dhoni becoming regimented now? Because see, I'll give you said it right. I mean, let us call it out. I mean, because yesterday there was a lot of activity going on.
CSK colors has some military this thing, so it is regimented.
So, okay, I get the joke. I get the joke. So, see, I was worried because Thakur went for 14.5 runs. Chahar completed his 4 overs and went for 9 runs. I'm just reading the numbers. Sam Curran bowled 2 overs only. He had 2 more overs to go, and he is not a bad death bowler, right? Number one.
Exactly.
Then Ravi Jadeja only bowled 2 overs. And it's not as if going for 8 runs in 2 overs is, 16 runs in 2 overs is all that bad. So it's almost like Dhoni forgot certain people on the field.
See, and I would have expected Dhoni to experiment with Ravindra Jadeja, because he's coming off from a layoff, injury layoff. So you need to bowl him more, because you must get him into the groove. And if you are not going to do it the early match, you can't bowl him when you get into the business end of the tournament. Yeah. So there CSK missed it. But I was happy with the way Brian Bravo bowled, because he though he has the knack of taking wickets, he also tends to leak runs. That didn't happen yesterday, and he was brilliant with this change in the pace. Yeah. But overall, in the 2 matches that we have seen, all 4 captains made some tactical errors. You pointed it out during our chat over WhatsApp about Pant's inability to use Vokes, because Vokes was the pick of the bowlers for Delhi Capital. He was bowled only for 3 overs. Whereas somebody like Ashwin, who didn't have a great day yesterday, he bowled him out straight away.
Yeah, he bowled 4 overs. He said, okay, now that you are going to give runs, you might as well give it at one go. I know what I have to score. It is almost like that. But then see, with Pant, I sort of cut him slack because obviously the fellows, the first time he's coming out, I actually like the way.
Right.
Yeah, I actually like the way he and Dhoni were actually standing and talking. It's almost like Taleva. It's almost. I mean, I thought he'll touch his feet. So it's like
Raj,
Harsha Bhogle. I'll just make this thing. Harsha Bhogle actually said on one of the shows yesterday, it's got me laughing. He said, look, they said, look, there's one is the guru, one is the shishya. I mean, one is taking over from the other one. So I hope you don't find this guy, Rishabh Pant, actually holding on to Dhoni's finger and walking in slowly, like a father and son.
Father and son.
So I thought that was quite hilarious. You were saying something.
Raj, because I want to, now it's my turn to pick your birds. You are pretty harsh in your criticism of Prithvi Shah, but he seems to have made some technical changes to his batting approach. And it was mighty impressive. At least in the first match, it came off. What were your impressions of him with this change?
See, I was seeing three things. Prithvi Shah himself said that, look, he had the problem. I mean, he said that in the post-match thing that from Australia, he was feeling that something was not working. So he started working on it. And it was not from Australia. In fact, it was before that also. Australia was actually a freebie for him. In my mind, he shouldn't have been there because he was getting found out in the previous IPL itself. He was getting bowled through the gate.
Exactly.
It was the same thing.
Because you were skating in your criticism of him.
So something was wrong, and now he has corrected it. And yesterday I heard the commentator say what it was. So basically, his the bottom hand, the right hand, is coming much closer to his body, which means that the bat is coming straight down instead of coming from an angle.
Apparently has gone
and a slight change. More than the footwork, I think it is the bat coming straight down, because now that gap between the bat and pad is not there. So we had our friend Jitendra, who comes on the show yesterday. He's saying that this is good, but then we need to see how he copes up with the actual genuine fast bowling. I have a slight difference of view, because it's not the genuine fast bowling that is going to trouble him, because he is one of those typical modern day Indian batsmen who likes it fast. What I feel is that the Bhuvi kind of bowlers, who who basically mess up
the ball around,
messes up with by the line and length that he bowls. Those are the guys who could be tough. So I would look out for a DC versus SRH match, definitely, and maybe a couple of others. I can't offhand remember who are the bowlers that he needs to validate, but I'm happy for the guy because he has come back strong.
Because that's how you shut your critics.
Yes.
I mean, he by scoring runs, and he did it. Of course, it's too early to make a entire comment, but first match it is pretty good, and I was equally happy for the way Suresh Raina turned out for CSK, because one season he was out. I mean, that was an innings that was worth clapping from the balcony.
Yes, I agree. So I was almost going to say that he jumped off the balcony and landed on the ground on all four. He did a very good job of it. So
CSK can be happy about their middle over and.
So I just want to pick one more. One more thought quickly. See, you saw CSK. I mean, obviously, we are saying that the bowling. I mean, okay, it had an off day. I also somehow. Do you think that they missed a trick by not playing one of the genuine fast bowlers? Because Mumbai, I don't know. Mumbai, Jason Barndorf had come in.
But I don't know. He's still in the quarantine.
Maybe. And Ngidi was also not
still in the quarantine. So they were. They were in that sense they were hamstrung by that fact of those players being in quarantine. I mean, it's interesting that they picked Gautam for 9.25 crores and still not playing him. I'm not saying he should have played or anything. It's an interesting thing. What kind of a strategy that you went with in the auction? It only shows up that. I'm not saying, it's pretty understandable. How do you fit in Gautam? I still feel somebody like Sai Kushrav is a better bet than Gautam in this current form. That's my take. Of course, it's my view, but it only shows up what an auction is. It's one of those hit and miss things. It's a pretty random thing, because I feel because your numbers go up.
I feel somewhere that Gautam and Moeen Ali would be used alternatively based on whether you see, for example, tomorrow if Ngidi is back, you actually can sit Moeen Ali out and get Gautam in, because he's supposed to be contributing the same things.
I wouldn't see. I
So,
would actually want to look at Faf du Plessis' innings, couple of matches. If he
hmm,
doesn't show up in terms of batting ability, I mean, in terms of runs, I would actually play Jason Behrendorff in place of
yes, possible.
Faf, and I would play Moeen Ali right up the order, or even Sam Curran.
Yeah. So I agree. I mean, as far as Delhi is concerned, I felt that Avesh Khan was a surprise. Definitely, it was a surprise for me because I mean, I also put it on our group. I said
Exactly.
Avesh Khan question mark and then there is Avesh Khan exclamation mark. So
Yeah,
that
exactly.
explained it.
Exactly,
Uh,
because he was able to hit the right length and he
yes,
managed to get bounced. Pretty
yes,
impressive.
yeah. Mm,
But generally, Indian, I mean, spin bowlers, guys who have played for India, on the evidence of these two matches, they are not played well for their
their
respective teams.
franchises, and I have serious doubts about Amit Mishra. I know he's a terrific bowler, but the way he escorted the one ball to the boundary was too much.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah,
So,
you're right.
and now that he seems to have taken on Ashwin's number 99.
99.
He seems to be doing Ashwin as
Because Amit
thing.
Mishra, Ashwin, Rahul Chahar, Chahal, all have had very ordinary days.
Fiddling, yeah. So which is why I was surprised that Jadeja, who probably had the best of the ordinary days, he didn't bowl enough. So I think yeah. What about today's match?
Today's match, it's pretty interesting one. SRH, because who have covered all their bases, because as we discussed in our preview, and KKR is a strange kind of a team because you never know which KKR is going to turn up, because they can be extremely good, they can be very very middling, very ordinary, very tepid. So I really don't know. But somehow I would think KKR, because Morgan wants to prove a point ahead of this. See, because there were some question marks because about his captaincy, because he got it only halfway through last season. So now they have a settled captain. I think their fortunes might get slightly better.
Yeah, I mean, I'm. See, I think see, my own feeling is that percentage cricket. When it comes to percentage cricket, you have SRH,
Obviously, that's
and
what.
when you come to everything else, you have KKR.
Yes.
So you have no idea what is going to happen with them.
See, sir, I mean, somebody like Gill or a Russell or Morgan, they can finish off the match in no time. I mean, if they get into the mood.
Yeah.
So, of course, you can always say that for Bairstow or Warner or even Manish Pandey. So, it should be an pretty interesting.
For me, the game. I mean, today's selection is probably the most intriguing that I expect till in all the matches, because we have one more match after which we might do a special show for that, because all teams would have played one match each.
One match each.
Yeah, that is Monday tomorrow. So in this case, I feel there were a lot of selection stories that were going around, but I feel this is the game, because you remember we mentioned SRH has a problem moving away from the routine.
Exactly.
KKR doesn't have a routine.
Yeah.
We have a very weird situation there.
Yeah,
you really don't know.
You rightly contrasted. Yeah. Because that's the right thing. But SRH also will be well served by the return of Bhuvi.
Yeah, that is the only routine SRH has.
Exactly.
See, SRH's problem, we discussed that, right? I mean, I think 8 or 9 of the players select themselves.
Much like MI.
Yeah, see, MI at least five-time champions. No, we keep it aside. We know why they are there. SRH also is that, but SRH's biggest challenge is the 4 overseas players. So
because it's very difficult to play around.
Yeah, out of 4, all 4 are natural choices.
Well, I mean, one quick thought: is it a good headache or a bad headache to have?
To me, it's a bad headache, because because the reason is, it's a good thing that you have all these fellows there. But the point is, in terms of continuity, for example, it depends. Where are they playing? KKR, I think they're playing in Chennai, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so there is no chance of. I mean, I would love to have the other Mohammad Nabi also playing.
But how do you fit him in?
That is the point. That is the point, because Mohammad Nabi and Rashid Khan would be killers.
Yeah.
Imagine that on a Chennai track.
See, one thing that you can see, because you brought, I mean, though we are at the fag end of this our show, because SRH consistently makes it to the playoffs, but it doesn't get to the champions, because if they were champions in 2016, after that there's nothing happened, because this lack of flexibility on the business when it comes to the business end of the tournament, that is what is hurting them.
Yes. So I mean, so can someone stand up and say, you know what, I would rather have a Jason Holder at number 5 than have a Kane Williamson at number 3? I mean, I'm just randomly
Yeah,
saying
fair
this.
enough.
Yeah, it's not. It doesn't mean that Kane is anyway lesser. I mean, he's an amazing
You're
batsman.
going by team balance.
Yeah. So can I do that? So that is where I think SRH is stuck. KKR, I have no clue what they're going to do. So we'll
But is
wait and watch.
Williamson playing? Because as he come back from New Zealand, I mean, as he come from New Zealand, I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, if he is not playing, I mean, see, see, this time team news has
I
been
really
very
don't know,
vague.
and there has
Yeah.
been travel curve from to and fro from New Zealand
Yeah.
also.
Yeah.
So I really don't know.
So I'm assuming he's there. So we are assuming because we are not heard otherwise. So we are assuming
Exactly.
he's there. So there's been a lot of. I mean, see, for example, we didn't know that Hardik Pandya wouldn't bowl in the first match.
That
So,
was
so many things are there. So we'll
forget
leave
about
it there.
not bowling. He's not even throwing from the deep. Man.
Yeah, I know.
He's
So,
underarming like as if I mean he's Sandeep Patel from the 80s.
yeah, even or Chandrasekhar from the 70s.
70s.
Chandrasekhar used to bowl. I mean, he used to sort of.
Yeah, because I mean Chandrasekhar, you knew it.
Yeah.
Sandeep Patel, underarmed it. But this
Anyway,
is okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so we'll catch up with you tomorrow, and
Sure.
take care, stay safe, and wear a mask when you go out, and have fun. Watch IPL at home. Bye bye.
Bye. Thanks.